Hey everyone, this game from yesterday's Speed Chess Championship match between Nakamura and Duda was just too good not to take a look at. It's a really exciting game. Even though Nakamura won the match, Duda definitely got his punches in, and this was the sweetest punch he managed to land, absolutely. So the game opens with Hikaru playing e4, and Duda responds with the Petrov defense, or the Russian game. Duda's an interesting player, but sometimes it seems like he plays orthodox openings like this and then makes it interesting afterwards. So now we get something interesting from Hikaru as he plays knight d3 instead of the normal knight f3. Now this has actually been played in the World Championship in the famous Game 6 between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana, where Caruana came this close to winning and missed like a mate in 32 or something like that, pointed out by Sessa and others. Missed is a bit of a strong word for a mate in 32, but there was a technical win he had. So anyway, knight takes e4, queen e2, queen e7, and knight f4. The point of retreating the knight to d3, now we're threatening knight d5, which hits the queen and hits c7, and of course the queen can't defend c7 and e4. But black responds to a threat with a threat, so that if knight d5 happens, as happened in the World Championship, then knight d4 in response, you counter hit the queen, both queens are captured, and it's this crazy sequence of capture, capture, capture that ends up being a little bit better for white. I'm not going to get into all those complications, but it's very interesting. So instead, Hikaru decides to do something just a little different, just wants to play his own game, plays pawn c3, keeping the knight out of d4. He threatens this again, so knight f6 just responds by stepping back and controlling d5. You could get a queen trade here, and it's just dead equal. But d4, both players choose to keep the queens on. The problem is that in this position, I think Hikaru's queen is a little worse placed. He probably should have traded queens. Now, after castling from Duda here, because of the things we're going to see in the game, you really can't castle as easily for Hikaru. In general, this bishop is obviously better than the bishop on e3, and it's creating quite a lot of problems. So you probably need to think about doing something like g3, fianchettoing here, castling on the king side, and the position's pretty close to equal, but you have to favor Duda slightly still. His pieces just have more freedom, and he's going to be more comfortable with his king over here than Hikaru will be with his king on the king side, and it still takes time for Hikaru to get there. So a little bit better for black. But now we get an error from Hikaru. Of course, this is a blitz game. It's 3-1 in the 3-1 time control at the Speed Chess Championship, so you got to keep that in mind. But he does castle, and it's a mistake because of the fantastic queen a3. Boom. Absolutely brilliant move. This move cannot be captured. This queen sacrifice cannot be taken because this is just checkmate, a beautiful Bowden's mate here. But queen a3 is more than just, something really flashy and cool. It's definitely that, but it's also creating two threats. For example, if queen f3, it's really hard to find a plausible move in this position. But say you try queen f3, you just walk into mate in 2 because now queen takes c3, and you have to take the queen sacrifice and allow the mate. So credit to Hikaru, he finds the only move to continue the fight here, queen b5. So there was no way to defend a2. The fork on a2 and c3 meant that one pawn was falling, so you have to concede a2, and queen b5 defends by, after queen takes a2, threatening queen a1, playing bishop d3 to shut down this very, very dangerous diagonal. But a pawn has been lost, and it's a critical pawn that was helping shore up the white king. Now, bishop takes d3, queen takes d3. Knight takes d3 might have been better, actually, because the knight's not really doing anything over here. So if you take with the knight, I think that your chances of defending and making some mess are much higher. In any case, knight a5 here, and then king c2, queen to a4 check, a nice move, not letting the rook get out, and the king is forced kind of back into his box here. King b1, king b8. This is a good move, just patient. You got to respect these kind of moves in blitz, especially when you play them quickly. But it was possible already to lift the rook, which is what happens on the next move with rook d6. And at this point, the threats are just getting out of control, and Stockfish is saying, okay, this is unfortunately pretty much over for Hikaru, but how is it over? Of course, it takes good skill, especially in a blitz game. Knight d2, rook a6, And of course, you're threatening just to move the knight and invade on the A file. And these are really, really big threats. It's a huge attack for black, but it is only queen c2, which allows the most spectacular finish.
Queen A1 check! Oh my god! That was sick!
We have a party.
Queen A1 check. Oh my goodness. To finish off a miniature against Hikaru Nakamura with this move is absolutely amazing. Queen A1 check, you are forced to capture. Of course, Hikaru just resigned. He didn't capture the queen. And it is a discovered double check and checkmate. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. If you like this video, please do subscribe and hit the bell to be notified about future videos. And also check out the playlist on the board with many, many more amazing games.